Anakin Beats.
Hello and welcome to Can't Smash, your unlicensed, unofficial PlayStation channel. Right, so to address the elephant in the room, we did it, guys. We hit 1,000 subscribers. I cannot describe how much I appreciate the support. What I can do is promise to continue delivering the content you enjoy. So moving on, as part of our Resident Evil 8 appreciation, we have talked about Lady Dimitrescu, aka the tall lady. We've played the demo, and we've talked lots about what we know about the game so far, but the one aspect we haven't touched on is the gameplay. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get into the juicy stuff, which I want to touch on a little bit later, let's cover the basics. So we'll be playing as Ethan, and therefore we will play through the in-game entirely in first person again, like we did in Resident Evil 7, which was excellent. It's pretty safe to say that the game will borrow a lot from what we saw in Resident Evil 7, and we'll just continue to build on the great stuff we got there. So this includes the puzzle solving aspect to gameplay, which is obviously very linked to Resident Evil, and we'll definitely have the interesting juggling that is inventory management consistently throughout the game. This time though, it looks like Ethan has a case that he's slotting everything into, which I'm guessing will get very full very quickly. Further reminiscent features from the franchise will definitely include the bullet sponge mechanics of the bad guys. Looking at this here, shots won't do much, and you'll find a simple pistol really isn't good enough most of the time. I know I say that now and someone is going to speedrun this game in 30 minutes with nothing but a knife, but hey, I'm not that good, okay? I'm not that talented. The only thing out of the ordinary here, and in addition to Resident Evil 7, is that we have the merchant appear again, paying homage to Resident Evil 4, like much of the game is, I guess. But we have a merchant in the form of the character called the Duke. It's this chap here that we can either buy equipment or weapons from, whilst also having the ability to sell to him. I think the character will be integral to progression at some points in the game, so keep an eye on what he's looking to buy and stock up is my advice. So now that we covered the more simple aspects, let's talk enemies. So the enemies this time around consist of new foes, of which let's start with werewolves, which look incredibly fast. Think lickers from RE2 or hunters from RE3. But I feel like they're going to be significantly harder to kill than anything we've faced before. Just look at how vicious they look, man. They look rapid. And not to mention they are hench, so ignore the skinny ass zombies that take 1,000,000 bullets. These are going to be tough. Next up we have the zombies slash vampires, or whatever they are, in the basements that we can see here. They actually wield weaponry that they can attack you with, so this tells me they're smarter than your average zombie and thus will be significantly harder to kill. Also check it out, you can actually shoot their hands and their weapons fall on the floor, which bruv, you can then pick up, and that's so sick. Imagine you don't have enough in the ammo department and you run out of bullets. Well, you can run and pick this up to fend off your foes. A pretty sick solution if you ask me. Next up we have this behemoth that we can see wielding a hammer. Methinks this might actually be our friend Heisenberg, but in his final form. Look how beastly he looks, and this likely looks like a boss fight of some kind. I'm not gonna lie, this scene looks stressful AF. I mean, imagine fighting all this as soon as you get into the village. I actually think the Heisenberg fight will be relatively early on in the game, with the events looking something like this. So Mia dies, Ethan goes hunting for Chris and ends up at the village. Once he gets there, he meets this old dude and has his first encounter with the werewolves. I think the next bit is we escape them and make it somewhere safe, where of course it's not safe and we're greeted by none other than Heisenberg, where we have our first boss fight. Now think of this fight as something like first Jack Baker fight that we have in RE7 in the garage. And I think we likely get trapped somewhere, and this is where we meet the vampire zombie things. From there we then escape and there's another boss fight, and I think of this one as that second Jack Baker fight, which isn't too far into the game, but it's a big fight to go through. And I think this is where we meet this final version of Heisenberg. Then we make it to the Dimitrescu castle, and things escalate to meeting the daughters and eventually Lady Dimitrescu. From there, I don't have much of a guess, but that's how I think the first few hours will go. And this leads nicely to the last part to cover in gameplay, and that's Lady Dimitrescu. So she will definitely act like Jack Baker and Mr. X in this game, as in the fact that she will be a stalker. So the player will have to use the game's excellent 3D audio to know where she is at all times and try and navigate ways around her as much as possible. One thing I noticed playing Resident Evil 7 recently was how quick Jack Baker was to actually catch you compared with Mr. X. So Mr. X would obviously walk and you could run a lot faster than Mr. X, whereas Jack Baker can run faster than you, bruv. And if you're running away, he just grabs you by the face and turns you around, and it's terrifying. I expect with her coming in at just under 3 meters tall, or 9'6", as Capcom has confirmed, she's going to be rapid, bro. I think the one thing that will slow her down is the doorways being so small, so she'll have to crouch through them. So I think if you see her, run through as many different doorways as you can, slow her down and get some space between the two of you. And if you think about it, the AI of Jack and Mr. X was so good, they even stop on the spot to see if they can hear you moving, which again is something that I suspect we'll have to deal with again. Either way, this looks like it'll be super tense once again, although let's be honest, a large proportion of the fanbase cannot wait to run into her arms and likely be trampled to death. But what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts, and also what else you'd like me to do a video on. Do you want a video on the origins of the ideas for RE8, a little bit more on the real life inspirations? Let me know down in the comments. But anyway, as always, if you like the video, then drop a like. And if you really like the video, just a reminder that I'm a super small channel and most of YouTube doesn't even know I exist. So hit that subscribe button, because we are on our way to, and hold on, this is madness. We on our way to 10,000 subscribers. Mad. 10,000 subscribers. Wow. See ya.